All right, everyone. Let's get back to work here and let's navigate and understanding a little bit about Civil 3D and how we can adjust and correct this surface here. So one of the things that's important to understand about Civil 3D is I have properties of an object that I select available over here. It's very common for there to be specific properties called surface properties or object properties. So they're different than the general properties. So I'm going to click on surface properties and we can see that I get this dialog box about, right, here's a name, but definition of what it is. Here's a bunch of edits that's happened in the past. Here's how I can deal with and modify and make either more or less fine resolution. And there's statistics that I could expand and modify and edit here as well. So properties, surface properties, and turns out there's another set of properties for these more complex objects that are typically labeled as style. So here's a surface style. And in this one, we have, I haven't counted them, but let's just say there's a boatload of different tabs up here that I can adjust and change and have flexibility on how I want my surface to behave. So in this particular case, we are going to adjust this, right? So remember, we're going to click on the surface and then right click, say I want to edit my surface properties or surface style, excuse me. And here on this summary tab, which is on the far right, there's this category called 3D geometry. I highlight 3D geometry and I can see what it's going to look like or how I'm going to display the border, how the contours are going to display, how the grid's going to display, how the points are going to display, how the triangles are going to display. And by the way, when I rotate the surface, I see triangles. And in the properties here, it says flatten these elevations and put them all at 80 feet. So that's clearly not what we want. So I'm going to say use surface elevation. And notice now that this flattening is grayed out and all that's is grayed out. And so all of our 3D geometry is set to use surface elevation. So I'll click apply and OK. And now notice that that surface has moved up to where our corridor is. That's the actual elevation of the land. Our 2D items are left down and are always going to remain at an elevation of 0. Okay, so let's navigate back to a simple plan view, and I'm going to do it by simply clicking on top. I'm not a fan of using this view cube in Revit or in SolidWorks or AutoCAD or anything else, but quite frankly in Civil 3D, rotating by pressing and holding control and then the middle mouse wheel and rotating freely is not very friendly. So I tend to use the view cube with Civil 3D. Okay, so yeah, I missed one thing I wanted to highlight, so I'm going to click my southwest corner again. And notice that this corridor starts and follows the surface and ends exactly where it should. I want to highlight that it's pretty common that the start works and the end doesn't. So I'm going to try and recreate, quote, an error in the end and show you what it looks like, and then that will help you know how to fix things going forward. So I'm going to click back to top, and I'm going to zoom in on towards the end, and I'm going to click the corridor, and I can see a diamond grip. I'm going to take this diamond grip, I'm going to drag it to the left just a small amount. I'm going to try. apparently I'm not going to have much success at it. Let's see what happens if I just put a value in there. That doesn't look good. And it's looking even worse now. There we go. All right, well, so that's the end of the corridor. Okay, if I navigate back again to this southwest corner view, if a corridor progresses further than the underlying alignment, then this corridor is then going to drop down to elevation 0. Right? And if we don't rotate and into 3D and look and see what our 3D elements look like, then we never get a chance to see that because it doesn't show up in plan view. So now that we're working in surfacing, it's important to execute a command, look at it in 3D, and verify that what we think we commanded that is actually what happened in Civil 3D. Okay, so let's navigate back to the top view. And I'm now going to select this corridor, and it's time to create a surface based on the corridor. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on corridor surfaces. Get a big long dialog box, and it's all empty down here, meaning there is no surface. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Civil 3D to create a surface that is aligned with the base of our road, not really the top, right? Because what we're interested in is how much land do we need to dig out to make this road. So I'm going to click base. I want to use the links, and now I'm going to add this information down into this area. Yeah, so I'm going to click create a corridor surface, I guess, out of that. It gets pushed down here. I now see I have an Eagle Avenue surface. And then in addition, there's this thing called overhang correction. So I'm going to click into this none. And I don't know whether they have any errors or not, but this is just something from experience. I'm going to choose to say that I want a reference of the bottom links of what's in that cross-section assembly. So I'm going to click bottom links. And then I'm going to go over here to boundaries and click on this surface. Actually, I think we're okay. Yeah, so back to surfaces, I'm going to click OK. It says the corridor is out of date. Do I want to rebuild it? Yes, of course I do. I get a busyness, and I get absolutely no feedback. So let's go find this thing. So if I expand surfaces now, notice not only do I have Rob's Oceanfront Bird Sanctuary, there's something called Eagle Avenue Surface. Okay, here's where the road is, here's where the land is. Let's combine the two and create a volume in the middle. So that happens by going to surfaces as a command and saying, I want to create a I want to create a volume surface. I'm going to hit pause and make sure I go find that.